Hello everyone, this video will cover Module 10. Module 10 is right in the middle of our research essay. In the last module, you completed an outline of your essay, and so you'll want to look over the feedback once that's graded. And now you're going to move on to writing the rough draft of your essay. So again, this essay is the one that should be over the topic that you chose several modules ago and that you did the annotated bibliography over. And now you're working on the essay itself. And so you want to be looking over the criteria sheet for the essay and starting to draft through paragraphs. You're actually turning in a rough draft for this unit, and I will show you the criteria for that here in a minute. This is just a rough draft. You'll be doing the final draft in several modules. So we're going to be doing a rough draft. You'll get feedback from your instructor. You'll also get feedback from the writing lab, and you'll also get feedback from your peers in the next several modules, and then you'll turn in the final draft. So that won't be for a while that you'll actually submit that final draft. So I've got a couple of things here in the module just to kind of help you out, just reminders. Some of this is information that you've kind of gotten before, probably as review, but I just try to put new readings in here so that you have something to go over if you're feeling a little bit lost. This is about managing information, and then these are, again, how to do citations. We did this for the argument essay, but the argument essay was a little bit more limited in the number of sources that you were using. And so when you're working with a lot of sources, in this case, you have to have at least 8 in the final draft of the research paper, but you have 12 from the bibliography. You can even have more than 12. And so you may end up with, I have students who will end up with 20 sources. And so there might be quite a few that you're working with. And so reviewing some of these pages on just managing all of that information would be a good idea. So the actual rough draft assignment is here. You have to have at least 5 pages. The final draft of the research essay is 7 pages, 7 to 9 pages. And so we're dealing with only 5 pages of that for your rough draft. Obviously it's rough, so it doesn't need to be complete. Some students get the whole thing written out, and some students have kind of by section. A lot start with the introduction, but you want to make sure that if you're skipping sections that you kind of indicate where that's happening so that I don't leave you feedback that's not going to help you. You need at least 5 full pages of text. Introduction that gives you an overview of the topic. Do not copy and paste your introduction from your annotated bibliography. The introduction paragraphs serve 2 completely different purposes. You cannot use the annotated bibliography introduction as a research paper introduction. It just doesn't work that way. You need your working thesis in here as well. You look back at your outline before you submit this rough draft and see if I commented. Usually I try to comment on the outline. I focus my comments on organization, making sure everything's in the right order, and then your thesis, so that if you need to make any changes to the wording, you can do that for the rough draft. And then hopefully by the time you get to the rough draft, you've got a good looking thesis, and so you may not have to make very many changes before the final. Body paragraphs, obviously expanding on the thesis, does not need to be, obviously you want to write in order, but you don't necessarily need each section of your essay for the rough draft. So if you're skipping over a section, that's fine. Just write that in there. And then make sure that you start to use sources. Do not write your entire rough draft and then go back in and put your sources in there. That is not how you write a research paper. Either you're going to end up confusing yourself or you will end up with plagiarism because you did not put sources in as you were writing. And so that's really, really important that you, as soon as you start writing your rough draft, that you start to include sources. This is a research paper. The whole purpose of this assignment is to use research. And so that is most of your essay is going to be citations, references to sources, information from sources. Yes, you'll have your own sentences in there, and you may include some personal experience, but it is a research paper. So just keep that in mind. Most students for the rough draft format it to do the double spacing and everything so that they have a good feeling for how long it is, and they know how long it's going to be. And double spacing really helps when I'm trying to make comments, because there's more space for me to stick the comment in there. So that is the rough draft assignment, though. You want to make sure that you get it turned in on time if possible. Obviously, I have kind of a limited window to respond and give you feedback on these. For this assignment, I do not grade it with a rubric. All I do is leave annotated feedback, and I try to keep sort of limited editing things. It's mostly about content. As long as you have met this, these requirements here, and you didn't just turn in, 2 pages of one long paragraph or something, you'll get your full 30 points. So this assignment is worth points, but its primary purpose is so that I can give you some feedback and direction before you start really getting that final draft. So this is module 10, working on the rough draft. The next module will be getting feedback from the online writing lab as well as your peers. You're going to do a peer edit in the next module. And so since you've got a rough draft that you've turned in here, you'll have that all ready to go in order to submit in module 11. And then in module 12 is when the final draft of the research paper will be due. So this has been a video for module 10. As usual, let me know if you have any questions. Send me an email.